Quote, "You should study temperance in all things. You must study it in what you eat and what you drink. And yet you say, it is nobody's business what I eat or what I drink, or what I place upon my table. It is somebody's business, unless you take your children and shut them up, or go into the wilderness where you will not be a burden upon others, and where your unruly, vicious children will not corrupt society in which they mingle. Many who have adopted the health reform have left off everything hurtful, but does it follow that because they have left off these things that they can just eat as much as they please? They sit down to the table, and instead of considering how much they should eat, they give themselves up to appetite and eat to great excess. And the stomach has all it can do, or all it should do, the rest of the day, to worry away with the burden imposed upon it. All the food that is put into the stomach, from which the system cannot derive benefit, is a burden to nature in her work. It hinders the living machine. The system is clogged and cannot successfully carry on its work. The vital organs are unnecessarily taxed, and the brain nerve power is called to the stomach to help the digestive organs carry on their work of disposing of an amount of food which does the system no good. Thus the power of the brain is lessened by drawing so heavily upon it to help the stomach get along with its heavy burden. And after it has accomplished the task, what are the sensations experienced as the result of this unnecessary expenditure of vital force? A feeling of goneness, of faintness, as though you must eat more? Perhaps this feeling comes just before mealtime. What is the cause of this? Nature has worried along with her work and is so thoroughly exhausted in consequence that you have this sensation of goneness. And you think that the stomach says, more food, when in its faintness it is distinctly saying, give me a rest. The stomach needs rest to gather up its exhausted energies for another work. But instead of allowing it any period of rest, you think it needs more food, and so heap another load upon nature, and refuse it the needed rest. It is like a man laboring in the field all through the early part of the day until he is weary. He comes in at noon and says that he is weary and exhausted, but you tell him to go to work again and he will obtain relief. This is the way you treat the stomach. It is thoroughly exhausted, but instead of letting it rest, you give it more food, and then call the vitality from other parts of the system to the stomach to assist in the work of digestion. Many of you have at times felt a numbness around the brain. You have felt disinclined to take hold of any labor which required either mental or physical exertion, until you have rested from the sense of this burden imposed upon your system. Then, again, there is this sense of goneness. But you say it is more food that is wanted, and place a double load upon the stomach for it to care for. Even if you are strict in the quality of your food, do you glorify God in your bodies and spirits, which are His, by partaking of such a quantity of food? Those who place so much food upon the stomach, and thus load down nature, could not appreciate the truth should they hear it dwelt upon. They could not arouse the benumbed sensibilities of the brain to realize the value of the atonement and the great sacrifice that has been made for fallen man. It is impossible for such to appreciate the great, the precious, and the exceedingly rich reward that is reserved for the faithful overcomers. The animal part of our nature should never be left to govern the moral and intellectual. And what influence does overeating have upon the stomach? It becomes debilitated. The digestive organs are weakened, and disease, with all its train of evils, is brought on as the result. If persons were diseased before, they thus increase the difficulties upon them, and lessen their vitality every day they live. They call their vital powers to unnecessary action to take care of the food that they place in their stomachs. What a terrible condition is this to be in! And yet you will say, it is none of your business what I eat or what course I pursue. Does anybody around dyspeptics suffer? Just take a course that will irritate them in any way. How natural to be fretful! They feel bad, and it appears to them that their children are very bad. They cannot speak calmly to them, nor without especial grace, act calmly in their families. All around them are affected by the disease upon them. All have to suffer in consequence of their infirmity. They cast a dark shadow. Then, do not your habits of eating and drinking affect others? They certainly do. and you should be very careful to preserve yourself in best condition of health, that you may render to God perfect service and do your duty in society and to your family. But even health reformers can err in the quantity of food. They can eat immoderately of a healthy quality of food. Some in this house err in the quality. They have never taken their position upon health reform. They have chosen to eat and drink what they pleased and when they pleased. They have injured their systems in this way. Not only this, but they are injuring their families by placing upon their tables a feverish diet which will increase the animal passions of their children and lead them to care but little for heavenly things. The parents are thus strengthening the animal and lessening the spiritual powers of their children. What a heavy penalty will they have to pay in the end, and then they wonder that their children are so weak morally. Parents have not given their children the right education. Frequently they manifest the same imperfections which are seen in the children. They eat improperly, and this calls their nervous energies to the stomach, and they have no vitality to expend in other directions. They cannot properly control their children because of their own impatience, neither can they teach them the right way. Perhaps they take hold of them roughly, and give them an impatient blow. I have said that to shake a child would shake two evil spirits in, while they would shake one out. If a child is wrong, to shake it only makes it worse. It will not subdue it. When the system is not in a right condition, when the circulation is broken up, and the nervous power has all that it can do to take care of a bad quality of food, or too great a quantity even of that which is good, parents have not self-command. They cannot reason from cause to effect. Here is the reason why. In every move they make in their families, they create more trouble than they cure. They do not seem to understand and reason from cause to effect, and they go to work like blind men. They seem to act as though it would especially glorify God for them to move like wild men, and if anything wrong should occur in their families, to put it down with roughness and violence." Testimonies for the Church, Volume 2, page 362 to 365. Quote, "Custom has decreed that the food shall be placed upon the table in courses. Not knowing what is coming next, one may eat a sufficiency of food which perhaps is not the best suited to him. When the last course is brought on, he often ventures to overstep the bounds, and take the tempting dessert, which, however, proves anything but good for him. If all the food intended for the meal is placed on the table at the beginning, one has opportunity to make the best choice. Sometimes the result of overeating is felt at once. In other cases there is no sensation of pain, but the digestive organs lose their vital force, and the foundation of physical strength is undermined. The surplus food burdens the system and produces morbid, feverish conditions. It calls an undue amount of blood to the stomach, causing the limbs and extremities to chill quickly." End quote. Ministry of Healing, pages 306 to 307. Quote, "At mealtimes cast off care and taxing thought. Do not be hurried, but eat slowly and with cheerfulness, your heart filled with gratitude to God for all His blessings. And do not engage in brain labor immediately after a meal. Exercise moderately and give a little time for the stomach to begin its work." End quote. Counsels on Health, page 565. Quote, "Exercise will aid the work of digestion. To walk out after a meal, hold the head erect, put back the shoulders, and exercise moderately will be a great benefit. The mind will be converted from self to the beauties of nature. The less the attention is called to the stomach after a meal, the better." End quote. Testimonies for the Church, Volume 2, page 530. A little water should be taken no sooner than 1 hour after eating, to help the work of the upper digestive tract. Now that our spiritual and physical nutritional needs have been met during the third hour worship service, we are fit for the greater activity of the day. The right kind of foods have been taken at the optimal time, producing complete satisfaction, and the digestive system is doing its work of providing fresh energy and the proper means to build, repair, and cleanse our bodies, while the infilling of the Holy Spirit has refreshed and invigorated our spirits. Those who walk in this old path will find that they will not be hungry between meals, but will also find the next appointed time of worship and a supper of the Lord, the ninth hour, will be welcomed for its timeliness, not too soon, not too late. Next, the fourth time of prayer and praise is at midday, at the sixth hour of the natural day, noon. Quote, Evening and morning and at noon will I pray and cry aloud, and he shall hear my voice. End quote. Psalms 55, verse 17. As 2 hours have passed after the morning meal, a larger amount of water should be taken to aid in the work of the lower digestive tract. Also, a little juice or herb tea may accompany the noon prayer. More water should be taken after another hour. Large amounts, taken with an hour or so in between, are better than small sips more frequently. The fifth time of prayer and praise is in the ninth hour, the second and last time of Christ's intercession in the heavenly sanctuary for the day, and the last meal of the day. This follows the same order as the morning worship and meal. As the meal should be the lighter fruit meal, so should the study be lighter than in the morning, and praise, testimonies, and singing be a little more prevalent. Again, water well after the meal at the proper intervals. The sixth time of prayer and praise at sunset, the end of the 12th hour. Thanksgiving for the day's blessings, and a prayer for the night's blessings. As little liquids as possible should be taken during the last couple hours before retiring, as not to burden the bladder, and thereby stimulate the sexual organs. If one finds it necessary to stay up late, and needs some extra energy, a piece of fruit may be taken after at least 5 hours have passed from the evening meal. Melons may be good at this time, as they do not require much digestion, and also provide a laxative effect. Citrus is also good at this time because it digests quickly. And the seventh time of prayer and praise, upon retiring. To arise fully fresh after 8 hours of sleep at 5 to 5:30 in the morning would mean going to sleep between 9 and 9:30. The very young will do better with more sleep, which would mean an early bedtime. While it is written, quote, 7 times a day do I praise thee because of thy righteous judgments, end quote, Psalm 119, verse 164, it is also written, quote, At midnight I will rise to give thanks unto thee because of thy righteous judgments, end quote, Psalm 119, verse 62. Addendum. A few additional notes on the benefits of eating a vegetable meal in the morning, in the 3rd hour, and a fruit one in the afternoon, in the 9th hour. 1. Due to the cooking of the vegetable meal early in the day, the house is heated early in the day rather than in the evening. In the wintertime, this will help heat the house early. In the summer, while it will also do the same, the house will be able to be cooled off early, and remain that way throughout the afternoon and evening, as the fruit meal should not require an additional output of much heat. Thus there is a saving of energy in the winter as the heat of cooking is put into use to heat the house early in the day, and a saving of cooling costs in the summer as it is more effective to dissipate the extra cooking heat early in the day rather than in the hot afternoon or evening. 2. As the cooking and baking of the hearty morning vegetable meal is done early in the day, then so will the major cleanup involved with meals. The lighter fruit meal in the 9th hour should require less cleanup afterwards, and therefore there will be less of a burden on the family at the end of the day when everyone may be getting tired, and more time available to enjoy each other. 3. The sense of satisfaction obtained by eating a hearty vegetable breakfast will greatly aid in resisting the temptation to snack between meals. This type of meal will also provide the proper nutrition at the proper time to build strong nerves and tissues, thus producing calm, strong bodies. 4. Proper digestion begins with chewing, and thorough mixing of the saliva with the food. Failure to accomplish this needed process will result not only in a lack of assimilation of the nutrients of the food, but also in a toxification of the system due to the waste products produced by the improperly processed food. The rule about chewing is this: juice your food and chew your juice. That is, chew your solid foods until they are in a mush-like state, well mixed with saliva, and swish your juice in your mouth to combine it with the saliva before it is swallowed. 5. It has been noted extensively by researchers that in order to maintain health and avoid disease, the blood must maintain an alkaline state, as opposed to an acid state. Because of this, some health advocates encourage people to eat only alkaline-forming foods and to avoid acid-forming foods. Therefore, they often speak against the eating of many types of whole grain breads, beans, legumes, nuts, and other such acid-forming foods. But such are not taking into account the fact that saliva is very highly alkaline, and when health-giving acid-forming foods are well chewed, they are converted to a state where they yield up their life-giving properties without harm to the body. Also, the naturally acidic God-given foods are themselves part of that which is designated as, quote, every herb bearing seed which is upon the face of all the earth, and every tree in which is the fruit of a tree yielding seed, which for us shall be given for meat. End quote. Genesis chapter 1, verse 29. So to obtain maximum health, we must eat a wide variety of foods available to us, in proper proportions to their acidic alkaline properties. For more on this matter, please see the entering wedge. 6. In order to obtain the maximum benefit from the nutrition contained within the food, it should be eaten with as little cooking as is necessary for its consumption. Lower heat and slower cooking will preserve the vitamins and enzymes which are destroyed by higher heats. For some things, this means eating them raw, while others will require thorough heating and conversion of their properties. Higher heat is appropriate for this purpose. The point is to avoid overcooking them, which destroys their life-giving properties. Some things which may be eaten raw may also be heated slightly if it is easier for them to be consumed by the young, the old, the weak, the infirmed, or those whose teeth are not good. Carrots are one example. Steaming them until they are just soft enough to easily chew won't significantly affect their nutritional value. Spinach is another one which can be lightly wilted by steaming. In its raw state or lightly wilted, spinach doesn't develop the bitter taste which it has when fully cooked. 7. As important as the way we cook our foods is the utensils in which they are cooked, and the implement by which they are cooked. A prime example are microwave ovens. They generate microwaves by an alternating current, rather than by a direct current as they are produced in nature. These reversing polarity waves cause the water molecules in the foods or drinks to oscillate at a tremendously high rate, generating friction between the molecules, which heats the rest of the food. This rapidly generated heat destroys vitamins and enzymes, and alters the structures of the cells of the food. Lower heats can pass into the cells with relative ease, but the quickly generated heat actually hardens the surfaces of the cells as it passes to the inside. It is like the cells get sunburned. Other alternations take place within and among the cells themselves, which render them of little value and even causes them to become carcinogens. Additionally, the coatings and materials in many cookwares today are extremely dangerous. Aluminum cookware is banned in 7 countries for health reasons. Besides some of the aluminum leaching into the food, some acidic foods, such as tomatoes, actually produce toxins when they are cooked in aluminum cookware. Teflon has been found to be very hazardous if overheated, and even gives off chemical fumes to a small degree at low temperatures. Ceramic pots can chip. Cast iron cookware needs to be thoroughly cleaned to avoid bacteria buildup in its pores. Glass and stainless steel pots and pans are the cleanest. Some stainless steel ones are available in a virtually waterless, low-heat cooking capability, thus leaving the maximum amount of nutrition in the foods. 8. Care should be taken in using vegetable oils. They are best when cold-pressed, for heating destroys some of the nutritional value. Many of the more popular varieties of polyunsaturated fat oils are not as healthy as they are marketed to be. This is especially true of canola oil, Canadian oil, from irradiated grapeseed plants. The same is true with hydrogenated oils. The process of bonding hydrogen atoms to the oil's structures requires heating, which produces trans fats that are not capable of being integrated into the body's system. Whether it is margarine, squeezable butter, or any of the varieties of man-altered oil and fat products, the situation is the same, and is summed up in the advertising slogan for one of those products which was really more prophetic than glib. That is, It's not nice to fool Mother Nature. 9. Quote, Who hath despised the day of small things? End quote. Zechariah chapter 4, verse 10. One of the most incorrectly consumed foods is peanut butter. Because the peanut contains a high amount of oil, it is easy to forget that it is a dried legume, like dried peas. In order to properly digest dried legumes, they must in some way be combined with water. Because of the oily fluidity of the peanut butter, it is wrongly assumed that the dried peanuts do not need any water added to them. Within a short time after mixing natural peanut butter with a volume of water which amounts to about 1/3 of the peanut butter's volume, it thickens back up to almost its original consistency. This does not work the same with peanut butters to which hydrogenated oils, corn syrup, or sugar have been added. Among the many benefits of this is that we get more mileage, so to speak, out of the jar of peanut butter. Another advantage to this is that the moistened peanut butter will not stick to the roof of the mouth. If one were to put some ground up dried peas in their mouth, they would stick to the roof of the mouth, like peanut butter. Additionally, the added water aids in the digestion of the peanut butter, for the stomach juices can more easily mix with the softened peanut butter. When peanut butter is taken with jelly, the jelly allows the peanut butter to be swallowed before it is properly mixed with the saliva, thereby causing digestive problems. Another reason for adding water to peanut butter is because the high protein content of peanuts produces something akin to a hypnotic effect. The water adds hydrogen and oxygen to the protein and oil of the peanuts, thereby making them more digestible. This minimizes the hypnotic effect. 10. Directly underneath the skins of the fruits and vegetables are their highest concentration of vitamins and minerals. To avoid throwing them away with the skins, thoroughly clean the fruit to remove any pesticide residue, and then eat them with the skins. If the fruit or vegetable is to be cooked and served without the skins, first cook them with the skins on, and then peel them after they are done. This allows those nutrients to be absorbed into the body of the food. 11. The extra expense of buying whole-grained breads and foods is easily offset by the better health which will be experienced, and by the lower medical expenditures incurred when consuming them as compared to the ill health and high medical costs derived from eating the vitalized foods. Also, whole-grained foods produce a greater sense of satisfaction, which means that it will take less of them to bring contentment as they fulfill many more of the body's needs, being whole-grained. It is written, quote, Wherefore do you spend money for that which is not bread, and your labor for that which satisfieth not? Hearken diligently unto me, and eat that which is good, and let your soul delight itself in fatness. End quote. Isaiah chapter 55, verse 2. Therein we have the permission, and even a command, to spend the money necessary to provide us with that which is good, whole, unadulterated foods, both spiritual and physical. Quote, Whether therefore ye eat or drink, or whatsoever ye do, do all to the glory of God. Give none offense, neither to the Jews, nor to the Gentiles, nor to the church of God. End quote. 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 31 and 32. Summary. In the typical service, God's people ate right after the time of the blood intercession for them. Thus, they could eat with consciences free from all stress and guilt, enjoying good digestion and full refreshment. Before the enslavement of Israel in Egypt, the meal times of God's people were taken twice a day after the morning and evening worship, as they were in Eden. Whenever they backslid and fell into the customs of the world, which have their roots in ancient Babylon, they ate at the three prominent times of sun worship, sunrise, noon, and sunset. The type clearly shows that there were 2 blood intercessions a day, not a month, or even 3 months, or yearly, but each day. So to be true to the type, there must be 2 blood intercessions a day in the heavenly sanctuary, corresponding to the 3rd and 9th hours of the day. No matter where you are on earth, there is a 3rd and 9th hour of the day during which Christ is making a blood intercession for you, cleansing you from all unrighteousness, according to your faith. The daily appreciation of this, and of the daily duties of the antitypical priests, and of the congregation in the court of the holy place, quote, will keep the people of God humble and separate from the world, and from backsliding. End quote. Early Writings, page 116. How? By the cross of Christ and the intercession of the Holy Ghost, by blood and by incense. Praise the Lord. The Branch. Doug Mitchell, P.O. Box 1004, Kingsland, Texas 78639. Email info@the-branch.org. http://www.the-branch.org/study24.html. Summary Chart. Summary of the 7 times of prayer and praise, the suppers of the Lord, and water drinking. First time of praise, before sunrise. Description: rising from sleep, prayer and praise. Second time of praise, sunrise. Description: prayer and praise. First glass of water before the morning walk, second glass of water towards the end of the second hour. Third time of praise, third hour. Description: worship, prayer, singing, study, first supper of the Lord. Fourth time of praise, sixth hour, noon. Description: prayer and praise, third glass of water, juice or herb tea, fourth glass of water early in the 7th hour, fifth glass of water late in the 8th hour. Fifth time of praise, 9th hour. Description: worship, prayer, singing, study, second supper of the Lord, sixth glass of water late in the 10th hour. Sixth time of praise, sunset. Description: prayer and praise, 7th glass of water around sunset. Seventh time of praise, going to sleep. Description: prayer and praise. Eighth time of praise, midnight. Description: rise to give thanks.